Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, boys and girls, women and men, welcome to the episode 3 of the No Bangers Sports Card Podcast. It feels once again like it's been 27 days since our last recording, but we are back. I am joined by the illustrious co-host Rod, picking and punching cards, Cary, American Arbitrage cards, and Tim.
I'm going all in. All in on the double thumbs up, and he's got the finger. Wait, I can't say that.
Shout out to the guy who said, he went on a date with the girl and ended the date with the 2 thumbs up.
I know, dude. Yeah, that dude's awesome.
Yeah, not all heroes wear capes.
She missed out. She missed out, is what I said.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She missed out on the best 2 minutes of her life, man. Let me tell you.
Oh, dude, that's very. You're very kind to that gentleman. Very kind.
But so first off, I want to start this off. I want to apologize to our audience, and you guys hear my voice.
Yeah,
I'm a little hoarse right now, and I want to apologize because it's technically not my fault. All right, it's technically Tim's fault, and let me explain why. His people, the Commander fans, disrespected the Rocky statue this week. They put jerseys on it. They put the Commander stuff on it. He pissed off that entire city, and what happened? They woke up and they took care of the business this week. So I understand he's a fictitious character, Tim, but damn it, he's real to me. All right, Rocky is real to me. And if the Eagles didn't score 7 rushing touchdowns and I had to chant EAGLES several times yesterday, I wouldn't sound like this. So if you'd like to apologize to the audience, the floor is now yours. All right?
Yeah, I'm sorry that the Commanders gave Philadelphia victory.
But the good news is we got the Super Bowl everybody in America wanted, the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Right. Literally,
I don't even want to watch the Super Bowl now.
What do you mean? This is probably the greatest moment ever.
I'm not.
Patty Mahomes.
It's going to be two good teams, but I don't care about either of them. You understand?
Yeah,
I like Saquon. I do like Saquon.
That's what I was going to say. Is like I put up a poll on my Twitter, because it's interesting. The Chiefs could possibly be the first three-peat in NFL history, and then you have Saquon on the other side going for his first Super Bowl. So I kind of like to see.
Isn't Hopkins, DeAndre Hopkins, going for his Super Bowl with the Chiefs, his first one too?
Yep. So
I'm rooting for the Eagles, though. I finally went to the dark side. Hopefully the Philly fans will embrace me.
Did you see the clip of the guy shooting the gun in the middle of the street? There's like the big ass crowd of Philly fans, and the guy just puts his gun up, pop, 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 and then everybody's just like, go Birds! Like, oh man, Philly's crazy place.
Insane, man. It's insane, man. So, but hey, it's we can agree to disagree on that in the Super Bowl and who you guys want. I would say the thing we can agree on this week though is how awesome was it that the 11-year-old kid pulled the Paul Seam card?
Oh, yeah.
How amazing is that, right?
Yeah. 11-year-old kid. He wrote a journal entry, which is a beautiful journal entry. It was a beautiful story. Beautiful story, allegedly.
Ruined by the conspiracy theorists online. Listen, it used to, back in the day, it used to just be like, Elvis is still alive, Tupac's still alive, the aliens and, dinosaurs aren't real. But now it's like everything is a conspiracy, Back
in the day, people weren't so obsessed about what the card companies were doing. They're just card companies are just making us the cards. We're the community. We're the people buying and selling them. They're just the dudes manufacturing the cards. And I know Topps is a little bit special, the Fanatics thing with all the other stuff they do, and the modern age where we're in Instagram and everything's a video.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing too, is I think social media plays a big aspect in
it's a big part of it.
Demanding the picture of the 11-year-old kid and demanding the name of the shop where the box was sold. Like, what is wrong with people? Like, it happened.
Well,
I don't understand.
Tell the audience. Let me explain the backstory a little bit so the audience has a better understanding of what we're kind of going into here. Is the card was pulled. On Christmas Day, the kid got the box for Christmas. It was pulled. No one told. It was not announced to the public. What happened then? It was a redemption card. It was sent to Topps. Then was sent to the PSA. The announcement came out once the card was found. The next day, the announcement got a PSA 10, and then they announced the day after that he is going to decline the offer from the Pirates, which was 30 years of season tickets behind home plate. He's going to decline the offer from Golden Auction House.
So like $800 in value, right?
Yeah. And they're going to put it in the Fanatics, which used to be the PWCC auction house now. So the big conspiracy going around, alleged conspiracy going around on the internet right now, is that, Topps is doing some type of shenanigans and it's that they should let the people know right away when the card's pulled. Now, Tim, what's your opinion on that? I mean, there is some truth. I would say there's a little truth behind that, because if a card gets pulled, do you feel like they have a responsibility to the public to say, hey, you know what, this card has been pulled? I'm not saying they have to show the 11-year-old kid, but I'm saying should they announce to the public that the card has been pulled?
Well, see, I guess that's kind of interesting when you put it like that, because it was a redemption and Topps had it.
Yeah.
The one aspect you could look at it as being shady would be the fact that Topps, the price of the product, but
Correct.
Topps doesn't really control, to a certain extent, the price of the secondary market of the product. You know what I'm saying? So I guess because that is still being chased, but I think there's still only 27% of the debut patches. It's either 27% of the debut patches have been pulled, or 27% of the debut patches still haven't been pulled. Obviously, Paul Skeens being the biggest one, it will affect the market value of those sealed boxes.
Well, Ellie was pulled within 3 days of the product dropping, within 2 or 3 days,
Yeah. So for me, it's do they have a responsibility? Technically, no. Would it have been nice to everybody else? Sure. But that's part of business. I'm not out going out there and buying those boxes because I'm not, I know my luck.
Those Skeens one of one thing is just a story, and hats off in a way. You got to appreciate what Topps has done marketing wise with these debut patches. They didn't exist. We got some shipping going on. They didn't exist a year ago, right? When did they first announce these? About a year ago?
The 23 product was the first time that they did it. So this is the second year of them doing it. It's really interesting. Just now got released too. There's a card in Bowman draft, because this kind of goes, Bowman is Topps, right? And they kind of just released the information on this card, even though this product has been out for 6-8 months. They have the draft cards, and it's a mem card that has the actual ping pong ball that was used in the draft, and it's in the card. But they didn't announce that when that product first came out, and I don't think I've seen any. I think they're all redemptions. So it was kind of interesting that they did that, because that's another product that's kind of been sitting on the shelves because it's been so expensive.
As much as you can, critique any company in sports cards that makes and manufactures cards, at least they have been approaching, the game used relic market that we've all been wanting in a creative way. It would be nice if and I think Topps does this a lot more than other companies, I believe. A lot of the jerseys are game worn. That's what people want. That was the whole thing in the 1990s. That's why they got so big, is you got a piece of Michael Jordan's jersey or a piece of David Ortiz's jersey or whatever. And over time, it became player worn. That was a big deal at the time. People didn't want player worn, stuff. And we became accustomed to that. Now it's just, a fancy insert. So them doing these creative game used or event used, like with the ping pong ball cards, I think that's a step in the right direction, at least for what people want to see in card packs.
So another thing too, real quickly, is the kid, right? He's an 11-year-old kid. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure his parents and the kid would, most people, I would say, our age, a little bit younger, they would be pressed to post a picture that they pulled it. They would use it as a flex. They'd use it to gain traction with, if they were a content creator or whatnot. And that's cool. I have no problem with that either.
Absolutely.
But maybe the kid and the parents just didn't want to deal with all of the hassle. Maybe they wanted to wait until the process of the grading and the redemption being filled and all that was over before it got announced. You know what I'm saying? So it's I don't know. People demanding stuff from a kid is kind of weird to me.
So Tim, you're about to have a baby. I have a stepson. All right, and Cary's not allowed within 500 feet of the school, but that's a story for another day. That's not true. But I would say just think about this. If you know that kid's going to get $500,000 or $500,000, $1 million, I don't want if I had an 11-year-old kid, I don't want him out in the open, have a target on him because of that, or my family. What happens if they live in a low income area and now they don't want to be a target on them? I don't blame them for not doing that. Because that was my stepson hit that card. we would send in a redemption, we would get that money, and I'd put in a trust fund where he couldn't get that money until he was like 30 years old. So that way he couldn't do anything stupid with the money and stuff like that. But like,
I might take a couple $1,000s.
Well,
to
you-
myself
I'm
for
not
buying
saying that-
boxes,
it's not
you
even
know?
money. You know what I mean?
And reinvest in some boxes. Do it again. Get another MLB patch.
But Cary made an interesting point the other day. He you were open some what's the college football? It starts with an O.
Onyx.
No,
Onyx, yeah.
Onyx. You were on.
Yeah.
So you open up a pack, you pulled out a redemption card, and you talked about in your short about how you hated these redemption cards because all the extra work you have to do. Now there it is. Okay. Now
Who is it?
Yeah.
Who was
So
that?
Ricky White redemption, and like it's 2025, and I understand that Onyx is a small company, but they want you to write in. It's in Orlando.
Old
thankfully.
school style.
Yeah, it is old school style. It's just an odd thing. I just don't have the player in the product, and save the auto for another product. Even if it's a different design, I think it would work.
So here's the thing. So the point I'm getting at is, I pulled the Austin Genty 101 Superfractor from the Bowman U cards.
And you won't shut up about it, by the way. You will not stop talking about that.
Listen, hold on. I pulled that card, pack fresh, and it ended up getting a PSA 8. There's a lot of manufacturer flaws on the autograph, got a 10. My point to this whole conversation is I actually prefer the redemption because having that redemption card, it got a PSA 10. You know what I mean?
That doesn't always happen, though.
I understand that, but I'm saying there's a better chance for that product to be shipped out, get damaged in shipping, something happen along the way to cause that card to be damaged compared to the manufacturer.
There's a hierarchy. I can understand a redemption for a Genty or an Aaron Judge auto, but this is an Onyx Ricky White. He's not a bad player. You know what I'm saying? Like at some point, it's just like, we just don't have this guy in the product. Let's just put, We'll add something else. I don't know. There's some reason. I guess they have for their autograph odds or whatever for the product. They got to put those in to make sure they fulfill it or whatever, which I understand. It's just now I got to go do work. That's what I said in the short. I got to go do work. I got to, spend. Thankfully, it'd probably be just like a stamp. But sometimes, like with the points with Panini, you have to like pay $10 to ship the cards.
Yeah, I saw that with somebody who they used their points to buy a Garrett Wilson autograph, which is super rare because let me tell you, 90% of those Panini points, it's like going to Dave and Buster's where it's like you get like 20,000 tickets and you get a Chinese finger trap. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
dude, but my fingers are still stuck.
Dude, Cary was stuck for an entire week. He couldn't work.
I had to go to the hospital and get it cut.
He had to cancel his whatnot stream one week.
Up next, we have
you can make it work. You can make it work, but yeah, it's true. But they do occasionally drop some good cards. But what I found with the Panini points is if you only have like 250, a lot of times they are like $5 autographs, if that, $6-7 autographs, and then it's $10 to ship it. You just lost money on something you should have gotten in the pack. But if you stack them up, it seems like it's $10 total. So like I've sent several cards and it's been 10. So
I don't.
But still, it shouldn't be that. Shouldn't be the case. Why wouldn't they cover the shipping if they're the one that doesn't? I understand it's a cost to them, but it's a cost to us to not get our autograph. Obviously.
Yeah, if you're going to charge shipping, at least charge me like $5, $6, $7. Like
exactly. It's also $10.
What are you shipping me? You're not shipping me a 12-foot Murano.
You're getting it in an antique cigar box. An antique cigar box you can flip.
You get this 4-foot box. It's like box after box, unwrapping it, and there it is. There's the one single card inside of it.
With the Russian nesting dolls and the Chinese
there we go.
finger traps. This is the theme of the show today.
Speaking of Panini, though, like they're gonna lose their licenses in the next year or two here for NBA and for WWE for football. I mean, how long do you think it's going to take for them to fulfill those redemption cards? Because there's people they won't. You don't think so?
No. Listen, they already started doing that. I don't know if this happened to y'all, but I had some Panini redemptions and they didn't fulfill them. They sent me the damn Sparkle pack.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I wasn't like I waited for a few. I got a few, and then there were some that were taking longer, and I didn't want to request a replacement.
Yeah.
And then they just said, okay. They sent me a letter, and they sent me a Sparkle pack. It was a Mosaic Football Sparkle pack, and I got it's like 3 cards in the pack, and I got a Mac Jones, which is still sitting in a box here somewhere. Like nobody's bought it. and a Rashad White rookie card, color match, red sparkle rookie card, which I sold for like $14. But it was like I want to say the one that I got the pack for was a Hollywood Brown RPA.
Oh man.
Like, think about how long ago that was. And
Yeah.
like, you know, like it took like 2 years for me to get a sparkle pack with the Mac Jones after he had been benched. And,
Well, but I
you
don't
know.
understand why it takes so long. Like, what is the holdup in this process? Like, can someone explain to me? Because I don't get it.
That is a good question. I don't understand if it's in the warehouse and you send a redemption in, why they can't go pick and pack it. I don't know, within a week. That's a
sometimes
reasonable
it's on
amount of
the
time.
Players. Sometimes it's on the players because they
That's
have to,
true.
They
You're
have
right.
to
Yeah,
sign
but
the
Tim,
stickers.
hold on, 2 years, players.
Well, no,
You know-
I mean that's why I said sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, like there's been lawsuits for this particular reason. So I think that, you know, for the most part, it's probably a combination of the players and, you know, Panini, obviously. But I mean, Topps is pretty good about it. Topps is a lot quicker than Panini is. Panini is hands down the worst when it comes to redemptions. Like that's a well-known fact across the hobby. So I wish I had answers for the general public, but I don't, unfortunately.
Well, you got work to do this week, so follow up with us next week on the podcast here and give us a full TPS report. All right, and put it on our desk. Let's get it and go through. So it sounds like Panini doesn't really want to do that much work, you know, when it comes to this. But I will tell you who's been doing a lot of work, and that's Topps and Fanatic, man. Did you guys see the numbers they announced over the last week here? They have sold at $1.6 billion in card sales. That's ridiculous. It's quadrupled in sales since 2020. And Fanatic's biggest margin for them right now, all the products they sell that close the clothing lines, the jerseys, everything is sports cards. So I know everyone keeps announcing that the sports card market's on a decline. Granted, you're going to have ebbs and flows in any market, but as long as it sustains at, you know, a new, I guess, ceiling compared to what it was previously, you know, like 4 or 5 years ago, I think the market's hot right now. The sports card market's on fire.
Go to a card show, guys. I mean, anywhere in America right now, every card show is packed. It is packed. Now, is it the difference is it's not 2021 where you're buying a card and then you're like, I'm going to hold it in a month and it's going to be up 20%. That was not sustainable and that's not realistic. That's why I think what we do is so important. We're out here arbitraging it, right? We're out there finding a $3 card that can flip for 8 or 6 or 15 or 20 if we're lucky. And we're doing that over and over because there is that little niche where just people don't want to deal with the low end cards.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that with the downtown. You're paying 105% hoping it goes up, or I don't even know half the time why people are paying so much on the downtowns. It's a hot market.
Repackers.
Yeah, it's repackers. Yeah, you're right, 100%. That's it. That was the answer.
Well, so last week we talked about all these emerging markets, you know, about how hot they were and what to look out for. And we got some really good feedback from people out there. But I found it interesting. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Topps announced that they're going to be opening up, or Fanatics announced they're going to open up their first flagship card store in England, or London, England. It's going to be, I think, roughly about 8,600 square feet. And it's going to focus on Premier League soccer. It's going to focus on WWE, F1. It's going to be focusing on all their upcoming products, Disney, Marvel. So, you know, we hit those emerging markets last week, but I mean, Cary, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Do you see Fanatics potentially expanding that to other markets? I mean, could they be the Walmart of sports card market going forward? Because we do have cards at GameStop with Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't try. I mean, they have a lot of success being all over the place with physical retail locations. And it feels like, you know, back in the old days, there was mom and pop stores up and down the boulevard, right? And then the malls took out those stores. And then the internet's kind of, you know, made malls obsolete. But what's happening is the nichification of everything, right? I feel like hyper niche stores could work in the right location, like a London or a big city. So I think Topps could do it. And I think the markets that we talked about, you know, Marvel, like, you know, the Marvel Chrome, like here's a Marvel Chrome card, you know, from the new Topps Chrome.
Oh, nice.
You know, or the Disney stuff, they could just keep expanding that. Yeah. There's a ton of different, you know, IPs, intellectual properties they could get into that are, you know, they could Funko Pop this thing up in a good way or a bad way if they want to. They can get into every IP under the sun. I mean, hopefully, you know, get some people in, but over time it may devalue stuff. Who knows? But I mean, the Disney stuff's amazing. I'm really excited about that. I want to find some of that product and rip it.
Yeah.
It's interesting for me that they chose London for the first location. But at the same time, I think it's cool. I do know that I've seen like some of the other content creators, the bigger content creators, travel to shows in London and Canada and stuff like that. So I think that that's kind of fascinating that they're trying to build up a little bit more of a global market in some of these things, which I think is important. But I also think that Tops and Fanatics, as much as people want to complain about this being the junk wax era 2.0, it's not there, and I think that Tops and Fanatics is aware of it because I think Tops and Fanatics wants this to be a long-term thing, making money. If they're making this sort of money right now, like the numbers that you just said, I think that their focus would be long-term stability with those numbers as opposed to trying to double those numbers in the short term and then completely bottoming out, because that's what would happen if they actually like started producing more and made Fanatic stores all over the place like Walmart's. You know what I'm saying?
But if they are producing more and people are buying the product, that is good for everybody. That's why the sports card shows are booming and all of those things, right? Mm-hmm. So I always get annoyed by that, like the junk wax era 2.0 or whatever. In that time in the 90s when that was happening, the card shows were booming, everything was happening. Yeah. Then they kind of mishandled it, maybe interests changed or whatever. But we also didn't have companies in here producing the stuff like they are right now. With the social media savvy. And I'm not saying, and I for one, this is a little aside, but I wanted to talk about it. I did a video yesterday. I did the Onyx video, and people love to go, if it doesn't have, licensing, I don't want to buy it. I want to be the first to say that I'm more excited opening the Onyx packs than I am the licensed stuff, because I'm actually getting value in my packs. Or like, let's say I bought an Onyx box, 10 autographs, 10 packs, box is $220, $250, right? I'm getting 10 autos. More than likely, I'm getting somebody really good. I'm probably getting, on a bad box, 50, 60, 70% of my money back with those autos. And then I'm making content on top of it. Whereas like a Panini box, you spend $800 on Prism. I opened 2 Prism boxes last year for a video. And one I killed on, and it was barely profitable. Without those one-of-ones or crazy pulls, it's hard to make any money. So, sorry, I got in a little aside there.
It's interesting, too, because Topps Finest Basketball just came out. And it's like, I would rather look at a Onyx pack, or in my situation, I would rather spend the money on Leaf. But I'm not going to spend $200 on a Topps Finest unlicensed basketball card.
Exactly. Right? $140 to $160. You're getting like a Leaf Pure Box or something. 4 or 6 autos.
5 autos in it.
And you're probably there's a good chance you're going to get real prospects, real guys that are legitimate college players that have potential. You're not just getting a $200 Topps Finest and getting, like a Sam Cassell auto, even though he was a baller. That doesn't really have much value, unfortunately.
And this other thing too. So what about this? Do you guys think that what's the price difference going to be from a Wemby unlicensed auto rookie card badge from one of these Topps products that's coming out right now versus the first Wemby licensed Topps autograph non-rookie? How big of a price difference do you think that's going to be?
That's a good question. I would say that the first officially licensed one will be more than the...
Even though it doesn't have a rookie card badge.
I disagree. I think it's going to be the first one because everyone wants the first. It's always the first that people chase, go after. But that's a good question, man. What about you, Tim? What's your thoughts?
That is...
I don't know. I think the first licensed one's going to be more expensive than the unlicensed.
Yeah, and I'm kind of backing out of what I said where I don't care about licensing. But for something about the Topps basketball especially, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. I bought some Topps Finest basketball this weekend at a card shop. I got an Aaron Gordon auto, but it was like the 95 baseball design. That was maybe the first one I've seen that I really liked. I'm like, I love this design. It doesn't have the logo on the front, which doesn't look great with basketball, but the design itself, I'm like, this was pretty solid overall. There's so many of them where I'm like, man, this is an auto, I guess, kind of like almost like the Bowman U, but remember the first year of Bowman U before they had any licensing at all?
Yeah, I still have.
And it was just really like not well done. I mean, they did the best they could.
Those boxes were like $90. That's the big
Yeah,
difference.
they were cheap though. Yeah. True.
But
You're
here's
right.
the thing, like, but with college, I think college is different because there's a lot of plain jerseys. Like Notre Dame's pretty plain, Penn State's pretty plain. So like
Football's way different. It looks way better.
you can get away with it. Plus, yeah, not to mention like I don't know, man. I just think the value is in these non-licensed products because Leaf. We talked about Leaf last week. We talked about I bought a box of Sage. I got 5 autographs for $40. You know, like there's a lot of value in college products that are non-licensed. And I'm a big fan of college products, man. I think college products is the way to go. Up and coming prospects. Leafs doing the signing high school products or high school prospects coming out. I mean,
Do y'all remember that product that Topps put out a couple years ago, the basketball one, when they unlicensed it? It was like
everybody in business suits or whatever. Yeah, that was the first Topps finest they did, 2021, I believe. Hands down, like on paper. It was actually sounded cool on paper because it had like I'm cool with having old school dudes unlicensed, I guess, if it's done right. But yeah, they were just, and it wasn't just in suits. Like if they were all wearing like suits and they were young, they were all like 60-year-old stars in their suits, like at a NBA Hall of Fame induction ceremony. They were like somewhere.
The Gordon Bombay loafer commercial from Mighty Ducks.
Well, it's like those Michael Jordan Haynes cards where he's like always in like the jacket. Those are cooler. I agree.
Do you guys remember the hockey cards from the 90s where they were like wearing the full on tuxedos and they have like they're on ice and like skates with tuxedos on it all? So like that's
I do remember those. Those are better though because like they actually had to go do a photo shoot or something. I don't know where they got these pictures of these dudes, but they found a way to make like a cool like the Kimbe Mutombo or Steve Smith auto, like worth $2. Really, I mean probably a little bit more, but it's wild.
Well, speaking about the NBA, since we're talking about it here. I mean, the trade deadline's coming up first week of February here. I mean, you have Jimmy Butler. You have one of the sports card collecting darlings, Zion Williams, possibly going to get traded. So, I mean, how big is this trade deadline going to be impacting sports? I mean, what you guys do in bargain boxes and how you guys are going to go forward picking out cards?
It's hard.
Basketball.
It's hard. It's hard because you have trade rumors, right?
Yeah.
So it's like more times than not, because with trading – I've noticed that it's more about the cards that you already have than trying to find them because it is a very small window when it comes to trade deadline. But I will tell you that like if you have a card listed and that guy gets traded, I'd say 7 out of 10 times that card will sell that day that he gets traded. I've noticed that in previous trades, whether it's any sport, it happens like that. So I think that's probably the biggest, like you'll see a bump maybe the first day, second day, and then maybe if like they do something with the new team and in the first couple of games. But outside of that, I think it's a lot less than like an off-season major contract signing, like a Juan Soto. Like the Shohei Ohtani, like when he signed, like his cards went crazy, So it's something to keep your eye out on. And if you have those cards, and they're not listed, and that's why you should always keep your cards organized. And then you hear the rumor, you pick up that card, you list it right then and there, and hopefully you sell it. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying that you don't recommend people go out and start buying these cards in bargain boxes or at shows. You're saying that any cards you have right now is a potential rumor, get those listed instead. So that's your take on it.
Especially with like the NBA, because I mean, as good as a player Jimmy Butler is, and as good as a player as Zion is, like in basketball, it's like 5 guys, and then everybody else is kind of just like lumped in as like common stars, which is ridiculous, but that's the way that the market is.
I think with the bargain boxing of these players in particular, it should be this rule in general for everybody. If you're going to a bargain box and you find a number to 75 Zion Williams for $1,
you buy it,
and you could sell it right now, at a profit, buy it. And if you want to price it, maybe even this is up to you. You want to price it a little higher and hope that he gets traded, cool. But if you can cash out at a profit either way, then it's a buy. If you're paying top dollar, if you're paying the top of the market, which a lot of people end up doing. Just with the hope that he gets traded or some bump happens, that's a big risk, and you could lose the money. We're playing with $5 bills and $10, $20 bills a lot, so it's not the stakes aren't that high. But if you can make money on
like
the
$100 to me though. To be
True.
honest.
No. I hear you, bro. I hear you.
Exactly. We're playing with house money because We are literally, when we go to these bargain boxes, we're getting, we work out the rule averages. We may buy 52 cards, but out of those 52 cards, we may spend $100, but you break that down per card, that's less than $2 per card. So if you start listing them on your online, say do a whatnot, you list them at $2 a piece to start off with. Some might sell for $2, some are going to sell for $4 or $5, and you're working out the rule of averages. So I think you made a good point there. You shouldn't be going out there rushing to bargain boxes. I think you should take advantage of what you currently already have and move on. It's different. Like, look at Jaden Daniels. Last week we talked about he had a great performance. They had 7,000 cards sell that day of. Tim, I mean, you're a Commanders fan. All put, not giving you a hard time or everything. Put everything aside what happened yesterday, because I know you're a little heartbroken. But I mean, how do you see that impacting his cards going forward? Because he did have a good game yesterday. He threw for 240 something yards. He had touchdown,
one rushing touchdown, one throwing touchdown. Like his market is solid. I think a lot of times you see a dip in the offseason, and there are players that are offseason proof. Jaden Daniels, I think, is offseason proof. Like, if you're looking to buy quarterbacks right now, to flip, I would be looking at J.J. McCarthy. I'd be looking at Michael Penix.
Yeah.
The guys that have potential for growth. Bo Nix, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, those three guys are, kind of – there's not going to be a lot of room for profit. That's like a buying a Kaboom at a 95% sort of situation. Like, there might be a little bit of a dip if you have the capital and that's your style of flipping, then that's fine. But I would look more into guys, if you're looking to flip, I would look more into guys like Michael Penix and JJ McCarthy, because they have the most room for growth and potential as far as value goes. And then, obviously the Jaden Daniels thing is another like conspiracy going around. Like, I saw a clip of Sports Card Nonsense podcast, and they were saying that they think that the Prism base card that sold for $2,500, and there's another one that's like on auction right now. It's pretty like up to like $800 or something like that. They thought it was shill bidding. Now, I watched the clip and I was like, because they said they had proof, but they didn't really like kind of go into the proof. They just were saying that basically it was like two people got into it, and in the one auction, but then in the second auction, the people that were going back and forth had zero bids, and the card is selling from the PSA vault. So like, shill bidding happens, this and that, and I think that some of those prices are egregious, but that happens a lot with almost every player, big player in a new release. You see like numbers that are just when Ellie De La Cruz popped, I was seeing Ellie De La Cruz first Bowman Mojos selling for like 50, 60, 70x than what they were. And like, it's just a perfect storm sometimes. Like, that person had set up that auction for the perfect storm. Well, it was PSA. So, I mean, whoever put it with PSA Vault, it's a little bit different, I would imagine. But like with the LA De La Cruz, somebody started that auction at the perfect time, and he ended up, hitting for the cycle or something like that. And like, it just was a perfect storm. Like that happens.
Well, Cary had the same situation with the Caitlin Clark card.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he won at the National, went off, got a PSA 10, won the Golden, but at that point in time, before he got listed, it was she ended at that point in time, before the break, before the Olympics happened, they had a 2-week break. So she ended right before the Olympics on cloud 9. Like,
she was on fire. 30-point games.
2-week period where she's not getting injured, not having any lows. She comes back after that 2-week period and just starts killing it again. And dude, that card went through the roof. So you are a prime example of being in the right place at the right time for a perfect storm.
But that's the thing about a perfect storm, guys. You can't really predict them in general. And that's always my advice with that kind of stuff. Like, the best thing you can do is buy good deals in the bargain boxes that you could immediately flip if you choose to. But, like, if I find Jaden Daniels right now in the bargain box and he's a couple dollars for a rookie, I'm picking, as long as it's not like a Sage or something, I'm picking most of those up because I could put those in my whatnot right now and profit. Now, and I feel like I probably could all summer, for the next 6 months. And I could decide to hold a few and then sell them later or see what happens. But you never really make mistakes if you buy right. The key to this game, and I'm constantly reminded of this as a reseller, is you make the money in the buy. I went this weekend to a card show, and I probably paid too strong on some stuff. And that happens sometimes. Like, I'm into, I'm making content. I'm making sure I have cool stuff for my auction, and sometimes there's a little bit of risk taking that I'm not necessarily against because I did it, but at the same time, I would love to pay less. So. But you make the money in the buy. If I buy right, there's no way I can lose. And I think there's a level for everybody, even if they don't have a big following or a whatnot, to never lose if they do it right, in my opinion.
But there's also a market strategy to that, because I will pay up for cards that I know I'm either going to break even or lose money on.
Well, yeah,
Just
that's
the fact,
true.
because I want to put those cards in my auction, because they're going to be a focal point for that, because someone's going to come in and
Exactly.
get a good deal. They're going to come back again.
I
It's
want
just
some
like
Jaden Daniels because he's hot, and
yeah.
I should make a little profit, but occasionally I might lose a little. But that's getting views for my other cards
Well,
as well
think
that
of it
people
this
may
way:
enjoy.
if I go to the grocery store and they run a BOGO, buy one get one free, they're going to lose money on those 2-3 items that they're advertising, but they're going to make up all the rest of the money from me going around buying my eggs, my milk, the bread, everything else I need to buy,
Yeah.
fruit, because I am
The
there.
Rogaine.
So they got me into the store to buy stuff. Yeah, I'm going to get a good deal on a couple of things, but they'll make the money in the rule of averages. So that's why it's so important when we go in these bargain boxes, and you guys are looking through these bargain boxes, to take chances, because you can offset those chances with what you're doing. Now,
Exactly.
last week we talked about the emerging markets with everything, and we had some good feedback from people, but I think we made a big mistake. Podcast 1, we talked about where to sell your cards. Podcast 2, we talked about what to look out for, markets to look out for, but we never told people where to find the cards. So I'm going to apologize to our audience here. We put the cart before the horse. So I think today we need to do a deep dive and explain to them, where we find stuff, because I do a lot of stuff at garage sales, flea markets. Tim does right now because he's up in DC area. He, because of the weather and stuff like that, he's going to be card shows and maybe occasional card shop. You have a great card shop by you, and no matter where you live, you just luck out, get a good card shop by you. So you do a lot of card shops, you do card shows as well. So let's talk about the different markets here, and let's start off with you, Tim. You're focusing on going to card shows. I think let's talk about this. I mean, what are your tips and tricks for going to card shows, and what do you look out for?
Well, I mean, I'll keep it pretty general for timing purposes, and I think eventually we'll probably do an entire show on how to shop at card shows, because
I think we should. It's a good idea.
I've seen a lot of recent people putting those videos out, and I think that they're really missing out on a lot of like key information as far as how to shop card shows. But card shows right now are currently, I'd say, probably like 85% of my sourcing for cards.
Okay.
Like I'm super fortunate because I live in a major city, and I live in like a quad cinco like metro area state where I can go to DC, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Delaware, West Virginia,
within a couple hours of each other.
Yeah, all those places are reasonably accessible. And so I will tell you that one of the two things I would recommend as far as finding card shows, because that's one question I get a lot on my videos, is like, man, I don't have card shows by me. If you go into Google and you type in sports card show near me, there's going to be a website that's going to pop up. And on that website, I'm pretty sure it's the first one that pops up. It will tell you you can literally click on a state, and it'll give you all the card shows that are registered with that website in that state for the next month. And so like you can kind of plan out that way. Number two
card show locator, I think, .com or something like that.
I think that's what it's called. If you type in, I'll do it really fast, but you also find Facebook groups. That's what's really, really important too, is like I have a local sports card group where promoters post all the shows that are coming up in that month in the area. Yeah, it's called Sports Collectors Digest.
Oh, okay.
Another simple one too, guys. If you're at your local card shop, ask the owner. They know. They'll know where the closest local shows are. I mean, when I moved here from Florida, that's what I had to learn right away. And it took me like 3 weeks to realize within 2.5 hours of me, every weekend there's a card show forever in Florida. It's wild. I'm so not used to that at all.
Having those card shows every weekend is super valuable, especially for what we do. So like, I didn't go this weekend because I had a baby shower. You know what I'm saying? But like, I go every weekend, and then sometimes I might go to 2 shows in a weekend. Some shows are 2 days in a weekend. I might go both days. I might hit up 2 card shows in one day in 2 different locations. You know what I'm saying? Like the big card shows, like, Chantilly, which is one of the biggest East Coast shows. That's a 3-day thing. So like I'll pay to go early entry on Friday. So I'm there Friday night from like Friday afternoon, so probably like 1 to 8. And then Saturday I'm there from like 8 to 5. and then Sunday I'm there from like 9 to 3. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so many cards. You know, sometimes you can finish a card show in 2 hours, but card shows are the best right now, in my opinion. Best place to get cards, because you can hold them, you can see them, you can negotiate in real time prices. You know, like negotiating on the eBay listing is a little bit different, but like card shows and then card shops. I have 2 card shops by me that I frequent, and I go there to the big card shop in Bel Air. I go there and I'm there for like 6-7 hours, and I can't even like scratch the surface. But like once again, I can like go there, I can eat, I can open packs, I can dig through the bargain boxes, you know, and then you build a relationship. Building relationships, we talked about that in the first episode. It's very, very important, especially if you're going to card shows and card shops, because a lot of people are on the circuit. So they're traveling to all the same card shows that you're going to. So you're going to see some of these vendors in the same vendors in different card shows. Yeah. You want to have that relationship with them so that you make the buying in the future easier and work out deals.
So 2 things there. I think the biggest takeaway is when you guys are out there looking for these shows, be prepared to drive up to 2 to 3 hours, because all 3 of us here will take a 2 to 3 hour radius and we have no problem driving there. Yep. That's how we're able to cover a lot more surface and to be able to hit a lot more shows. So you guys have to be willing to drive. Number 2, Tim made a great point about making those connections, because you will see the same dealers up there. But do this when you go to the card shows, introduce yourself. Say, hey man, my name's Rod. Or go up there, shake their hands, say thank you for the deals. Sit there, BS with them, because these are people that are going to be part of your business and you want to big business relationships. Number 2, you're going to not only see them at your local area, but you're also going to see them at different shows around, but also tell them what you're looking for. Because I will tell you, as a business owner myself, and when I go out picking, I have people comment on my videos and people tell me, hey, can you find this for me? Can you find this? So I have a mental list and a list on my phone of items I'm looking for when I'm out and about. If I come across it, I already have a buyer in place. We always talk about, if you guys want to start buying in bulk and buying out more collections, you don't buy because it's a good value. You buy because you know we're going to sell it already. So building these relationships with these dealers can help build your business to start flipping cards online. And I think Tim talked about card shops there. I mean, Cary, you do a lot of videos at card shops, and you have a lot of, in Vegas, you did the tour all the way from Vegas to the National. You hit up card shops on the way. So, I mean, let's talk about your success at card shops, man.
Well, I mean, guys. I mean, I have found good deals on cards literally all across the country. I have leveraged a little bit like my IG to ask people like, what's the card shops in this neighborhood I should go check out. But in general, you could do that in Google too. You might have to, go a few extra steps and hit a couple shops before you find them. But I've definitely found some shops I didn't dig either. When I was in Vegas, there was 2 shops I frequented. 702 is the one that I'm kind of really known for. They had the color-coded bargain boxes. And then Legacy, which is I think the Cblez and them like own it, or at least are part owners of it. And those were the ones I frequented the most. But there was like 7, 8, 9 shops maybe in Vegas, several of which, I didn't give enough of a chance. I actually went to some before I left. I'm like, oh, they have more bargain boxes than I thought. So even me, I got in my comfort zone with like my favorite shops, the people I was most comfortable with.
But
and here
in a relationship though with them, and
I did.
Too. That's
exactly 100%. 702, I'd go there, I'd put a stack. We basically had a percentage worked out where I wasn't paying sticker on stuff, but I also, not only did social media, so that's a leverage point, of course, but also like I wasn't ever leaving with like 3 cards. I was leaving with stacks of stuff that they've had sitting there forever, mixed in with some of their fresh stuff, of course. But and they would give me deals. I was a consistent buyer, and that helps. Being a consistent buyer helps you get deals, and you can be a consistent buyer, when you're selling in all these different places like we are, whatnot, eBay.
A big thing for you when you were in Vegas that you only had one card show a month or something. You would have to drive.
Oh, dude, if that, it was like every other month.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing I was really taken aback by. I had left Utah in a card scene I thought was maybe slow, and they had 2 or 3 shows a month. And I went to Vegas where it was like every other month. Obviously, California has a show every weekend, but SoCal, but that's 3.5, 4 hours, 3.5 to get into SoCal, and an hour to an hour and a half to get wherever I wanted within SoCal because of the traffic. So it was a day trip, and a sleepover overnight trip every time I went out there. It was a bit of a hassle. So the East Coast is, gosh, it's picking heaven for us. Like just for general reselling, it's picking heaven. But like for card shows and card shops and the other ways that we pick, because we don't just do card shows and card shops, we pick everywhere. And there's benefits to places like flea markets and garage sales where you don't have the variety and you might not have the high end stuff as much. Sometimes you do if you get the right garage sale, but the pricing is significantly less usually because people are trying to move stuff or they're just not interested in the product they have.
Well, that's one issue I have in my area because yes, we have a couple card shops, but that's why I have to focus on going to card shows more often because a lot of the card shops in my area haven't really met my needs, kind of like the card shops you guys have close to you guys. So for me, I have to hit those card shows. But if you guys watch, I put a lot more video content out for going to garage sales and flea markets and finding cards because you have to think outside the box. And that's the biggest comment I get on is like, I wish I had flea markets like this by me. I wish I had garage sales like this. Well, people don't realize the amount of time that we put in going to these places.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I may hit up 30, 40 yard sales on a Saturday and maybe find one place that has cards. Or I may go to a flea market for 4 or 5 hours and find 1 or 2 stands that have cards. But you have to make the most of it. So what a lot of people know, there's a couple apps you can download. There's, Yard Sale Treasure Hunter. There's G-Sailor or the Garage Sale app you guys can download. If you guys in those apps, you can actually search for cards, sports cards, football cards, baseball cards, and you can find yard sales that do have those. So that's a really big one that I use, especially during like community sales season. I know, Tim, for you, it's going to be a little bit different because you're up there with, with snow on the ground. You're not going to be hitting up flea markets or garage sales. Me and Cary are very fortunate now since we both live in Florida where we have the opportunity to go to flea markets. But, you're not going to find a lot of new product at the flea markets, but there's a lot of value in vintage, a lot of value in the junk box area. There's a lot of value. I clean up on packs of cards at these flea markets.
Yeah. Ask at the yard sales too. Just because and this is a little bit more difficult, like if you're just doing cards, right? Because you're probably not going to multiple yard sales, right? But like if you're driving on a Saturday morning and you see a yard sale, maybe if you have the time, pull over, look around, and then ask. Like you wouldn't happen to have any sports cards you're looking to get rid of, would you? And then you never know. They'd be like, oh, I got a whole box in the attic, and then they come down and it's a box of cards. So it's like
589 Upper Deck King.
You will
perfect condition, ungraded.
Listen, you will
$1 a pop.
You will come across some situations where people are like the boom of the COVID has made people think that their 1989 Topps cards are worth, $20 a piece. And those situations,
they saw the one eBay listing of the person who was out of their mind. This is a $40 Delino DeShields rookie
double
card
error, no dot
double
missing.
Bro, no lie. Like me and Cary went to the Webster Flea Market in Florida, and I went to the stand, and they had. Bless her heart, man. She was a nice, sweet old lady, but her husband wasn't there and priced all the cards. So I pulled up the stack of cards. There's a 1990 Topps Ken Griffey Jr. top with a $40 price tag on it. And I'm going through Ryan Klesko rookies at like $5 or $10 a piece. Like
Chipper Jones rookies.
Was there a time? There might have been like a month in 1995 where you could have got $5 for a Klesko. Do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a dude on Twitter who randomly picks a card from like a month in the Beckett, like during that month, and he posts the card and a picture of like what it was in the Beckett, like back when that card first came out. It's super cool.
You got to share with me who that is. That sounds awesome.
That's cool. I definitely want to check that out. Yeah, I had actually an idea for us. I think each week we should focus on a card that people can find in bargain boxes. Could be something weird off the wall, or maybe something they don't know. But we should have a kind of little segment where we show some cards each week. Each one of us comes up with some type of idea because I think
I got one. I got one right now. I don't know how he's playing this year, but last year he kind of came out of nowhere. Do you know who Isaiah Hartenstein is?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He
was a dude who, he's in the Knicks with the Knicks right now, I believe.
But
he was a guy
he got signed to a big deal this offseason and left.
I forgot where he went. Yeah. But like he kind of came out, he was one of those guys who I felt like struggled, kind of like, several players who struggled for a few years to make the NBA, and then he made it, and then he really found a role for himself on a popular team, and then he parlayed that into a big contract. Like these are cards like These are cards you can still find fairly inexpensively, like an auto. I don't think I even paid that $3.
Right.
So like there's a lot of that stuff floating around in the bargain boxes. If you're paying it, like I don't watch that much sports. I had the Eagles Commanders game on, and I just had Dawn yelling at me when something happened because I was in this room working. Like, but I will go on Twitter, or I will go on IG, or I will go on like Google to see who's playing well. That I'm very interested in. But like actually, I don't sit around and watch like I used to.
I'll give you one basketball, and this will kind of be a good little transition to like something we're talking about right here. So sometimes you can bargain box online too, right?
Oh yeah.
So
100%.
I picked up this card on eBay a couple of days ago. It was a 2023-24 Topps Chrome Sapphire Selections Edition Refractor. I don't know why they put that in there. Jordan Hawkins. Okay,
UConn,
so he's a young guy, right? But the last couple of games, because what I was doing was I was looking for. I got this in the mail, right? So that's the Luther Burden Sapphire Selection number
Nice.
5.
Yes,
right?
that's what we pulled from that break, right?
Yeah, big shout out to my guy Ben over at Midwest Box Breaks. You guys can check them out on District. So he pulled that for me, and that's another way you can buy cards by getting in breaks. But I just was like, I like case hits, and Sapphire Selection is generally a case hit, right? So I started put in Sapphire Selection, and I filtered it, ending soonest, and then and I just look at all the ones that are like I had dollars. So I ended up paying 99 cents plus $1.49 for that Jordan Hawkins Sapphire Selections card. And he had like awesome. 3 or 4 games lately where like his points per game have like tripled, quadrupled over this little stretch. So like that card I could probably flip immediately for like almost 10x.
That's something we should talk about, the online aspect of finding places to buy, like eBay, auctions, Whatnot. If you find the right Whatnot stream, and I feel like if you were to sit on Whatnot for a couple hours, you could. I almost feel like you're almost guaranteed to find a decent stream where you could find some flippable cards. Dude, I've had good luck with it, but just early. Yeah,
our streams just alone.
Yeah, our streams. There's deals. Yeah, no, 100%. You're right.
I'm not just saying that. And by the way, we all have our Whatnot links in the description down below.
Yeah, Dibbed.com, America's favorite place to shop for sports cards. Maybe someday, we hope, allegedly.
You were set up at the National through the Whatnot stand, and you were actually running cards. And I saw you run a lot of cards that were $50, $60, $80 cards that were going for maybe $50, $60. We're going well below market value.
If you're willing to put stuff in bin, buy it now on eBay or wherever, and wait for that margin. There's a lot of deals for, and it's not just like the small streams. It's bigger streams than us that are giving out deals.
Yeah.
And if you're patient, if you're like a real picker with cards, you could sit in even a popular stream with a big time influencer person. You can't bid on everything you want. You got to be careful, but there's going to be like little nooks and crannies where you're like, that was overlooked. And you can find some deals. Today, I was just thinking, for some reason about college basketball, how we're getting a little bit closer to March Madness. Football is consuming us right now. Yeah. College and for us, we love the college stuff, but also like
not for Tim anymore, playoffs. But it's okay.
Not for Tim. Tim. Sorry, but you did better than your team did better than we all thought. It was exciting for sure. But so I was putting some bids in. I was doing some research on college basketball, putting some bids in on cards this morning on eBay. See what I pull out.
And that's the other thing too is on eBay. Check late at night, early in the morning, when like a lot of people aren't necessarily like bidding on stuff. And like I always sort my, like if I'm looking for stuff, I kind of try to get specific. So I'll type in Bowman on eBay and I'll sort by ending soonest. And I'll just go from like, I'll try to get it like, you'll get the ones that are going to end in like 5 seconds. So then once you get into like 1 minute, 2 minutes, you kind of have a little bit more time to think about stuff. So I'll take it and I'll go from that point and I'll go all the way until like 8 hours away. So like it'll be like midnight when I'm doing this. So then at 8 a.m. when all those auctions are ending, I already have bids in. And like when most people are sleeping or going to work, I'm winning auctions for cheap.
Here's another thing. I just want to share this real quick before. Sorry, man. I know I interrupt a lot, but here's one thing I do want to share. This is important, I think. You're not winning all those auctions, but you're getting notifications like for what they sell for. So this is great research for when we're in the bargain boxes. It's not just only about finding deals. It's about learning what's hot and what's not. At this very moment, you're like, oh, that Jordan Hawkins, I got a great deal on it, but another Jordan Hawkins went for more than I expected. So maybe, is it because of the brand? Is it because of the numbering on that card? Was it autographed? Were they paying attention to what Jordan Hawkins was doing? Next time you're in the bargain box and you find maybe like a numbered Jordan Hawkins, you might pull it out. You might at least look it up on eBay and see if it's worth buying. So a lot of this late night scrolling on eBay is research for us.
That's great. That's a great point there. So Tim, what is the most watched sporting event in the entire world?
Super Bowl.
Okay. That is the best time to source. I don't know if you know that, because there's a lot of people that run auctions that don't realize it ends in the Super Bowl. Every year I score something big on Super Bowl because I have notifications set up. I go through. So what I recommend you guys do on the day of the Super Bowl, before you guys go out to your parties, go to your watch party, watch it, go online and look at auctions are ending within the next 6 to 8 hours, because everyone's going to be out at a Super Bowl party, having a good time, not paying attention. And you can get a lot of auctions that end well below market value, not just cards, anything that you might collect. Keep an eye out on Super Bowl Sunday. It's a great time to source.
So you're the one who's been buying my cards on Super Bowl every year.
Are you?
You're the one buying all my 1991 Fleer Bernard Gilkeys.
Yes, that's
on
me.
Super Bowl Sunday. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so
I've been needing to sell those.
We talked about buying on these different marketplaces. We're talking about Fanatics. We're talking about Whatnot. We're talking about eBay. We're talking about the most search websites out there. What about some of these other websites that are maybe not so much search? Like Macari's a great one. People don't know you can list cards on Poshmark. There's a lot of other websites out there. So, Tim, do you have any recommendations of other websites people can maybe check out or go through and look to find cards?
District is huge. I have bought some really good cards on District, and live and static listings, and it's easily searchable too. And like, especially like if you can search like the entire District thing, but if you're like a member in certain marketplaces, like like if you really want to get into a niche, there's a tennis marketplace. So I can go there and I can find tennis cards. Now, sometimes it's harder to find bargains in those because they're specifically made for tennis cards, but some of the larger marketplaces might have some value and stuff like that. And I think a lot of times too is with static listings, people might have something listed, and this is, and that person might go crazy and they never went back and readjusted the price.
It's so like a digital concept. It's a digital bargain box. Like they don't go back and recheck it because it's impossible to remember when you're at a certain level every card you posted and what price. It takes too much time.
So I source online, I source eBay, I source Whatnot, I source Cary, and I source
ComC. They're literally on ComC. You could just digitally buy and flip cards. I've done it.
Collects.
Like you buy a card, collects is one.
I bought.
You can go to the Buy Sports Card. There's all these smaller ones too. Buysportscards.com. There's Beckett has a a marketplace, believe it or not.
But here's a good one that no one thinks about ever. So HiBid. So those don't know what HiBid is they partner with local auction houses. So people taking collections from a state, stuff like that, and that local auction house posts it up, and they might post it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you go on there and bid on stuff, and you can either pick it up locally at that auction house, or you can have it shipped to you. But a lot of people don't think about going to HiBid because some of these auction houses take the worst photos. They don't know how to properly list it because they are not sports card sellers. They're an everything seller because they just focus on selling estates. So I have gotten some great deals in the past.
And a lot of the buyers at those auction houses are general resellers as well, where like there may be a level they're willing to buy a pallet or a box of cards just for the heck of it to see if there's something in there. But once they get past, in general, this is my opinion, once they get past a certain price point, they're out because they don't really understand what's in there. If you actually, a lot of these places you can even go in person and check out cards. You can look through the lots. If you know what you're doing and you're educated, because we go to card shops, we're doing all this stuff, and you find the Ken Griffey Jr. Upper Deck rookie in there, you find certain stuff, you may be able to get a lot of these lots super inexpensively because of your knowledge.
What about other marketplaces? I mean, there's online, but you have Facebook Marketplace, and Craigslist is another great one because, listen, I know that people think Craigslist is dead or OfferUp, but I would tell you Craigslist was one of the original OGs. You probably will find a lot of vintage on Craigslist. Just the fact that people that use Craigslist are antiquated in a way because it's still popular, man. I find card yard sales have cards and I find listings on Craigslist, OfferUp, Marketplace. What about you, Tim? Have you used any of these to try to source?
It's tough. It's tough where I live.
There's a lot of competition.
Facebook Marketplace and is like eBay in DC. So it's very tough. I will tell you, I found this dude super cool. He basically set up a card shop in his garage.
Oh, that's cool.
I went there 2 weeks ago. It's freezing cold, but he had like a space heater in there. But like he literally like opens it up and it's like a horseshoe, and he has it all organized by like sports and non-sports and stuff like that. So I ended up buying a few cards, but not a whole lot.
Did you film the event?
I did it because I wasn't exactly sure what it was going to be,
Gotcha.
and like I was kind of like in the middle of doing something else, and then like I had messaged him, and then he had messaged me back, and he was like, I was close to the area because it's normally like an hour drive from where I live,
Gotcha.
and so like I just kind of like happened to pop on it, so like that was pretty cool. But yeah, I think you can find collections.
Yes.
And I think this is the same thing. This is going to be interesting. This is all different types of levels of buying, right? Like there's 1, 2, 3 card. There's trying to buy a lot from one person online so that you save on shipping. Same thing with whatnot. Like you want to be able to try and buy multiple cards in a stream and find a stream that has good shipping, because you have to calculate all that shipping cost when you're sourcing online into your average cost per card. Whereas like at a card show and a card shop, you're being able to eliminate that part of the process of what you're spending. And obviously, like what Cary said a little while ago, is you make your money in the buy.
Yep.
But like with the collections and stuff like that and high bid and Goodwill, you make sure you're taking into consideration the shipping if you can't pick up, like Rod said. And then also, like you remember, like there's going to be a level of risk to this. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So like you have to kind of like, play that part real easy, real smooth. Like try and find, normally, I don't know, you guys have bought more collections than I have, but what I would do normally is I would skim through a collection, try to find, 10 cards where I think at least I can make my money back on these 10 cards or a profit. And then at that point, you feel like everything else is going to be extra. Because you can't, 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to be able to go through every single card when you buy a collection, right?
So
you guys should.
I like to use the 80-20 rule when it comes to that, where I have a rule where 80%, I want to get 80% of my value from 20% of the items I buy. So that's a good way to kind of think of that. So if I can when I buy collections, I quick skim through, go real fast. And if I find a couple big cards, I can get back a big portion of my money. But not only that, but you also have to remember how much time it's going to take you to recoup that money you're putting out there. Because if I put this money out there, if I'm putting $1,000 out there, and this is something that's going to be very liquid, like say there's Jordans or some Kobe's in there that I know, hey, I can get back $500 of my money right off these couple cards right there. That's a no-brainer for me. I'm buying that collection because then I can piece up the rest of it. But the last thing you want to do is tie up your money, because if I'm buying a whole collection for $1,000, that's $5 cards and under. I'm going to nickel and dime it's going to take me nickel and diamond for probably 6 months to get back half my money. Or
that's where, honestly, that's where Whatnot and Dibdit and all of the district sites, RIN, all of us, like that's where those kind of play in. If you're willing to do live auctions and take, on a say you're paying $1 a card, you're selling it for 2 or 3 on average instead of getting your 5 or 6, but you're moving it in 2, 3 auctions, hopefully, if you're playing your cards right. That changes the game entirely. But we get a lot of people who watch our general reselling videos and our flea market and garage sale card videos, and they may think we lowball people, But the truth is, like, I had that $350 lot that was a no-brainer, but I didn't go through every card. You can't. There's a really good video you guys should check out, by the way, and this is a little more high end. But T-Reich, if you guys follow Troy, he did one on this big collection he bought.
You saw the $100,000.
Yeah, and he really went into like his whole thought. He did a really great editing and everything, kind of explaining his thought process and how he had to figure out how to comp it, because he obviously couldn't comp every single card in the collection. So he ended up, with the help of chasing cardboard, he was in the video a little bit, determining to pick out like a stack of the best cards and comping from there. And it was a really interesting a deep dive into what we're talking about, like how if you have a big collection, you might want to go about comping it. But a lot of times when we're at garage sales and flea markets, there isn't a lot of comping. It's just general idea. I want to move all these cards, give me $200, $300, $400. That's oftentimes the case. And if you got the right lot, you could make a killing. And then sometimes you can lose, though. I've lost as well. It happens.
Multiple day card shows, like the big ones, the last day, the last couple of hours, I've been able to buy entire bargain boxes because some of these people, there's certain sellers and dealers and vendors who are constantly buying collections also, and they're replenishing their bargain boxes with all the stuff outside of the showcase stuff. But sometimes they don't want to have to keep lugging around those bargain boxes every show, especially if they're constantly buying new collections. So sometimes on the last day of a multi-day show, in the last couple of hours, you can buy entire boxes for really good prices.
I think a big thing that we didn't talk about here is when you go and you're buying out these big collections and they give you a price and maybe it catches you off guard. You're like, oh, well, that's a lot more than what I expected to pay. The biggest question you can ask them, and I do this all the time, you can see in my videos sometimes, is someone, if I don't like their price, I said, let me know what do you think has the most value in what you're saying here? We come up that price. Ask them that single question or if you're going to buy a collection, hey, what's the most valuable cards in this collection right now? How did you come up with that number?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get a better general idea because they may know something I don't know, or they may point something, or that's a good way to tell right off the bat before you waste all your time, hours going through that collection, if their price point they're on point with things. Because if someone's like, oh yeah, it's these Jordan cards I have, or you pull up those Jordan cards, I'm like, oh, well, what do you have value these 3 Jordan cards? Oh, well, I value those about $100 a piece. Okay, you want $1,000 for the collection. Okay, now it's starting to make more sense. Okay, I know these Jordan cards are $100 each. Okay, now his price point's a little bit more on point than what I'm thinking about here. Now, if I pull up, he shows me cards, and he's like, oh yeah, I value these at $100 a piece, and these are $10 cards. Okay, now I need to take a step back. That's a red flag for me. Okay, I need to reassess the situation, and I'll pull up comps and show them and say, hey, how did you come up with that? Or ask that simple question, because a lot of times people will look up Google, or they look up on Amazon, or they'll look up on eBay. Well, not so much Amazon for cards, but they'll look up on eBay and they'll see a listed price versus a sold price. So that's when sometimes you have to educate your sellers and say, hey, you're looking at listed price. Anyone can list it for wherever they want. You need to look at sold comps in the last 90 days. This gives a better understanding of the marketplace. I think that's really big that a lot of people do not do when they're buying.
It's true. And if you're selling these collections, if you want to get rid of bargain boxes and everything, or just maybe a personal collection or something,
just
remember,
call us. Send us a
call
message.
us, number one. Call me number one.
Call me,
and then
1-800 no bangers.
We should do a line for that, for like complaints and stuff as well, because I'm sure they're out there.
I'm sure there's a lot.
But I mean, you got to remember, time is money too. So when we're buying a big lot, or when you're selling, you have to remember the buyer is exchanging their time for the discount and value, right? Mm-hmm. Because of course, and I will tell anybody this: if you're doing a garage sale, a card show, you will make the most money if you do all the work yourself and you sell them all individually. Of course, everybody knows that. But if you're selling in bulk, you can't expect to get the full comps on stuff. It's just not possible. And that's the whole reason why we, or anybody would approach to get a bulk deal, is because we want to use our time, our effort to make up that difference and make that margin right there. And I think that's important to realize when you're selling, or even when, we are trying to sell stuff in bulk, which happens at time. We got to remember, the people are putting in a lot of work in it. And if it's stuff you don't want to do that on, just don't put it in bulk lots, sell it individually. You'll make more money.
Well, that's when I bought that big collection at a garage sale. I bought 13 boxes of cards. And I mean, they were like, they were either 3,000 count, 5,000 count, and I was getting like Shohei's, everything else. But at that point in time, I didn't know that much about baseball because I was just getting back into it. This is when I was just starting to get back into it. I bought this collection. I think it went at $325, and I gave him $300 because I personally thought maybe there's $1,000, $1,500 worth of stuff there. There's a lot of time and work. I have to look up all these cards. I have to go through. I have to list these cards, take photos. That's very time consuming as well. Come to find out, I mean, I did get roasted in my comments where people are like, oh, you ripped this guy off. I should have paid more. I'll be the first one to admit it. But I didn't know going into it because just like you guys said, you can't look up every single card while you're there. So you got to look for a good point. And be like, you know what? And this is what we call making a calculated risk, because you can take risks on certain things. Just like Tim said, when you are buying from auction houses or buying for these, there's a calculated risk. So you need to minimize that loss as any way you possibly can.
It works both ways. I want to tell a story that's not super flattering for me at the Browns flea market yesterday. It works both ways. Like sometimes you don't pay enough, right? Because you didn't realize how good the collection was. Sometimes you overpay because you just want to make sure the deal gets done. I got a box of Star Wars figures, so not sports cards. And he wanted like 3 to 5 a piece, and I ended up offering him 100, and I ended up basically paying 3 a piece, where I probably, And this is what happened. You always want the person you're negotiating with, right, to give you the first price. Negotiation 101. I'm already a terrible negotiator. I did a video recently. I got roasted for the title a little bit, but I was implying that I couldn't negotiate because I suck at negotiating. I have a real issue with it. It's something that I struggle with every day. So he was being tough with it. So I gave him a number. And have you ever given a number to somebody and they immediately were like, yes?
Yeah.
I gave him too high of a number. Like I probably could have got it for half that. And then I'm going through it. It's a lot of work to make very little money, basically, if I make a profit, if we make a profit on it at all. So it was just one of those things. And that happens on both ends of the spectrum here.
So I'm going to ask both of you guys this question here. What's worse when you throw out an offer to someone, because you have to make the first offer. I mean, we've all been there. We try not to. We had to make the first offer. And they accept it right away, or they just look disgusted that you made that offer. What is worse?
Bruh, I got a video.
They accept it right away is worse.
I got a video in the bag right now, right? I was at the flea market. Josie and I drove up to Philly, Jersey line. Keith put me onto this spot. And so shout out Vintage Sport Flips. Make sure you guys subscribe to his YouTube channel. And awesome he told me about this spot, and I was like, all right, cool. So Josie and I went up there, and it was like right at the end, this dude had a table, and he had probably like 3 or 4 Red Wing boots. And I was like trying to like, get him to say the number first, right? And he was not trying to do it. He was like, man, you just tell me what you want. And I was like, man, I give you $40 for the pair. And he looked at me and he said, man, you giving me these crackhead numbers. And like, he literally called me. He was like, what are you, a geeker? He was like, you can't, this is crazy. I'm like, these are like $20. I'm like, bro, you told me to give you the number that I wanted to pay. I want to pay $20 a piece. And then like, so like I when I get back into dropping weekly videos, I got that one in the bag. It's going to do real good. I got a good feeling because he was not happy with the number that I gave him. But like, sometimes you don't know. And it's like,
it's
I'm never offended when people send me shoot me, because I do that on Whatnot, right? Like I have people shop on my Whatnot and they shop my boxes, and then they pull out all the cards they want, and I ask them, I said, what would you like to be at? Because as a seller, my goal is to get rid of these cards. I want to get as close as I can to your number without like me losing my ass. You know what I'm saying? So like, and then a lot of times people are like, oh no, I don't want to lowball you. I'm like, listen, I'm never going to be offended because I'm you 90% of the time. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, sometimes you just got to throw a dart. Like you don't, they might say yes, and then it's like, hey man, I said $20, and I thought they would want me to pay $200.
But this is why we talked about earlier is get to know your sellers, because if you guys know that each one of us is a picker and that we go to garage sales, flea markets, we pick items at a discounted rate, we try to get deals. Why would I be offended if someone's gonna try to get a deal for me? So if you know your audience, you know your sellers, you can use that same mindset on us and say, hey, you know what? Hey, I know you pick. I'm like, hey man, I'm a picker. I'm not going to charge you full price. Throw me an offer, and we will work with you.
It's the same thing. Like when we're doing Whatnot auctions, like especially me, like I'm known as a bargain box buyer. Yeah. So I could never, like, I always try to say this, and even sometimes you're like, you can't help but be disappointed sometimes if certain cards don't sell for as much as you would hope, right? But you always have to remind yourself as a bargain boxer that the people that are watching my channel are bargain boxers for the most part, right, or are interested in bargain boxing. And this should be the spot where they find the bargains. It makes perfect sense. It's on brand. It's what I want. But I do want to make a point with what Tim was saying there about what was worse. I would say what's worse is when, and this is twofold, when they accept your price right away and you went too high, is not only that, so you paid too high and you get all the work on the back end too, just to hopefully make your money back or make a small profit. You might offend the person, right? Possibly, but you don't have to go home with an overpriced item that you paid too much for. You don't have the work on the back end. And being content creators, you probably have that cool little moment where they're upset with you that, you could put the angry emoji over their face and it's a thumbnail, right? So you'll make some money on that. But I don't usually, I need to do much better myself. That's what I struggle with negotiation, but also like the initial offer. Like I have such a hard time. Like I couldn't have done that probably $40, even though that's the number I would have wanted to pay for those Red Wings. I don't know if I could do it. I try to find the number where I think they'll say yes, and sometimes I'm too high, and that's not smart.
But it's how you approach
honestly.
it too. Like if you approach it in a joking around manner, it'd be like, hey man, like our buddy Kevin, he does Kevin does a perfect
Spot
job.
on.
First thing, if someone's like, oh, just make me an offer. And first thing Kevin always says, he goes, listen, I'm cheap. It's going to be a very cheap offer. So instead of offending you, I'd rather you just give me a price and we can go from there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there are different ways to approach it and to get into negotiating. Sometimes you throw out a number. Like I've been places though, and I have a video on YouTube. It's probably my number one performing video on my picking channel, where I was literally at this is before I had my card channel. I was at a little church flea market, and I'm picking dude this bargain box. And this guy walks up, he has a pair of shoes on the table, and he's like, how much for the shoes? And guy's like $5. And the guy goes, $3. He goes, no, $5. He goes, come on, $3. He's like, get the hell out of here. So like I've seen it go wrong, but I mean, that's very rare and far between. They were still able to work out a deal. Like you can work your way back and still save the deal, but there's no turning back once they accept your offer and you're like, crap, I just paid.
Yeah.
I could have got this cheaper. And we've all been there though. So it's part of the thing.
It is.
Another market we haven't talked about, and you can actually get great deals on, is Facebook groups and marketing groups or Discords.
Discords, yeah.
There's no selling fees on these platforms because you're buying directly from buyer to seller. There's no intermediate where you have to pay a processing fee. You're paying a platform, a percentage of what you're selling. So Tim, have you ever got anything from the Discord? Have you ever picked out cards in Facebook groups or anything along those lines?
So no Facebook, no Discord. I don't do a lot of Discord stuff. Most of the Discords I'm in are like groups of like that are Discord or district groups who have Discords and stuff like that. I don't buy anything from Discord. I don't buy anything from Facebook groups. I will tell you 1000%, no matter what, because it is horror story after horror story after horror story. Friends and goods and service all the time. Never friends and family. Okay, so that is the number one rule of buying in any of these things. If you're going to be buying on paying through PayPal, and if they say no, move on because it is not as good as the deal may sound. In the end, if you don't get your cards, it is bad. But I will tell you, Twitter. I bought cards from Instagram.
Okay,
Big shout out to Hyper Sports Cards. They run story sales, and I've had it's all done goods and service, and they give me really good deals. So shout out Hyper Sports Cards on Instagram, but Twitter. Buying cards on Twitter, if you find the right people, is absolutely fantastic. My guy Frank the Tank, who is another local bargain boxer, he actually lives in, I believe, Delaware, but I see him at all the local shows, and we're really good friends. And last night he was running a Twitter sale, and I bought some really dope cards, and it's you got to be quick though because it's a big market on Twitter, and it's a claim sale basically, and then they do a stack sale.
How claim sale works then too.
Okay, so basically they'll post a tweet, and on the tweet it'll be a picture of maybe when they're lower end cards, they do multiple cards in one picture. So it'll be 2 rows of cards, and then they'll be in the comment section, put last name of the player to claim the card, right? So
there'll be card 1 and 8 because it's
they have
nine
little
card
squares
panel,
sometimes, with numbers and letters and stuff like that, and you could claim it that way. Sometimes you could do take, which is the whole lot, right? And they'll have a lot price, and they do what's called a stack sale. So when we go live on Dibdid and One Stop Shop and then other marketplaces that we sell on District, I always call them stack sales because I do a one-time flat fee, $5 shipping, and everything else is free. And that one of the benefits of buying and selling on District is obviously you can have progressive shipping where I could do a live on Monday and a live on Wednesday, and you're still paying the same free shipping if you bought something the first day. Where on Whatnot, I could do 2 shows in one day, and you have to pay shipping all over again. Yep. So on Twitter, they call them stack sales because they'll do it for 2-3 weeks, and you stack up your cards for those 2 to 3 weeks, and then at the end they send you an invoice and you pay. So Frank the Tank on Twitter, he's awesome. There's my other guy CMR Cards, who I met at a card show, and then he was like, I'm on Twitter. I sell cards on Twitter, and that's how I found out about the whole Twitter scene. But yeah, once again, it's just ask people who have, references, because I will always refer other sellers that I buy from that I trust, because my whole thing is I want people to be able to buy from trusted sources. So like it's not like I go crazy on Twitter and I'm buying from 30 or 40 different people. I just bought a dope ass stack from Trace Amigos on Twitter. And what he did was he put out a post. He's like, this guy spent this stack of cards right here was $32.50, which somebody may pay for a blaster of cards. And I got like 40 numbered cards. And I was
Good
looking
way
at
to
the
sell
post.
it too.
Yeah.
And I was
Good way
looking
to
at the
sell
post and I was like, that's my stack. It was like, yeah. And so like, you can find fantastic deals, because most of these people that are selling these cards on Twitter, there are higher end cards, obviously, you know what I'm saying? 20, 30, 50, 200, 300, 400, $500 cards, right? But most of these people do what we do. They go out and they source, they buy collections, they go to card shows and stuff like that. So they're giving you a little bit of space because they want to sell their cards. They don't want you to go to eBay and they don't want to pay the fees. So the prices are a little bit cheaper. So it's all about finding the right people, knowing what you're looking for, trying to find a good deal, and buying things. Like, I think one of the biggest points of this whole show, what Rod said too, is that like, you don't want your capital to get tied up too much,
Correct.
for too long. So like you got to be smart, do your research. And Cary said, you make your money in the buy. It's a lot of good information throughout this episode that applies to buying no matter where you're buying from.
But you have to know where you're going to sell it, and that I can't emphasize that enough, because if you buy something and we've all been there as pickers. Like I go to a yard sale, and I'm not talking about sports cards. I'll buy something else. I'm like, oh, this is such a great deal, and then I'm like, crap, how long does it take me to sell this item, or where am I going to sell this item now? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So you got to be smart about it, and I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of us have made in the past. Also too, when we talk about networking, find someone that buys storage units who doesn't like cards. Or find someone that clears out houses or has a hauling company, and you literally reach out to them and say, hey, this is what I buy. I buy XYZ. If you find this stuff, call me right away.
I've had guys because I had a physical brick and mortar antique store for years. And I had this one guy in Utah that he would buy out, an estate sale at the end. He'd pay a lump sum, and he would you got to remember there's leverage in the fact that you're willing to do some work and put time in it. Right. So we would get furniture, for example. This is a little different than cards. We'd also get cards from him because he knew I loved cards. But we'd get furniture because we were willing to physically move it. He had 3 days to get out of there. He had a bunch of furniture. We could stack a whole room full of furniture and other odds and ends and get a great deal because he was saving time and labor costs and all that kind of stuff. And the same thing with cards. You get a hold of these people and they get an estate and has a ton of cards, and they're gonna jump on somebody who they know that wants cards, that's willing to move this stuff out for them almost. And then you will get pennies on the dollar sometimes.
That guy probably wouldn't have bought those estates with all that furniture if he didn't know that you were going to take it automatically.
Exactly.
So that's the big thing. So I will tell you guys, someone who has these contacts personally, and my dad used to have a hauling business in Pennsylvania. We used to clear houses. People died, they own next to kin. Find an estate lawyer that deals with people that don't have next to kin. That's another good one to deal with. But I will tell you this, do not
work with realtors who are dealing with this kind of stuff all the time.
Do not cherry pick and just walk in there and take all the Jordan cards out and leave the rest of the crap behind.
No, you need to provide a service by taking all the cards.
Correct. You're providing a service to take these items for them because it helps them clear stuff out, and then you have to do the legwork. But that's good to know, because then you can pick out what you want once you get the collections, and then flip the rest of that stuff.
Yeah, you could send the rest to a local auction. You could you could put it on Craigslist. You could do all sorts of stuff.
So that's another one. So now, how about this? Do you guys have any like off the wall or maybe off the beaten path places that you guys would recommend people go through and find cards at all? Start with you, Tim. Anything that pops in your mind?
Sometimes at the thrift store you can find them in the bags.
Oh yeah, those are fun. Those are always fun.
It's a very needle in the haystack sort of situation, and you have to consider condition and stuff like that. But sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes that's fun.
I had a massive score in the middle of the pandemic, like 2020, right before it started. No, the soccer was at a flea market where I found a $12 tote of soccer cards right in like August 2020 when they went off. It was the month before I found them. I looked them up and I'm like, I did good on this. When I get around to it, I'll make $5, $10, $15 a card. I paid $12 for everything, and there were several $5, $10 cards. And then a month later, those the soccer market went insane, and I sold. I've told this story like 1,000 times. I sold, I think it was 3 Cristiano Ronaldo base cards that are worth like $10 a piece right now. I sold them for 900 something, 60. I think it was 3 or 4 base. It was insane. But before that, I haven't told this story as much. I was at the Deseret Industry, which is a well-known West Coast thrift store, Mormon-owned store, and they get cards sometimes. And at this time, they had a bunch of sets in there. But it was 96, 97 Z-Force basketball, Kobe Bryant's rookie year. A lot of stuff like that. I was paying $7 a set. Some of them had several doubles, triples of players in it. I mean, this was right before the boom, and I still made a killing on the cards. I actually left stuff, which was silly, but I didn't realize how crazy the cards were about to get in like 2 months after that. But yeah, that was at a thrift store, just me doing my thing. And that's one thing we have an advantage with, which we've kind of touched on. We are going to these flea markets, garage sales, thrift stores because we also buy other stuff to flip.
Well,
you have to be a little bit more,
time,
you have to be a little bit more calculated if you're not buying other stuff. You have to look for certain yard sales that are listing cards in them, for example. We find cards all the time that aren't listed because we're at a yard sale anyway. And we'll buy, a AC/DC record. We'll buy a Carhartt jacket. We'll buy all this other stuff and we'll buy out whatever cards they have.
And then we get a lot of the power they ask people. But I would say here's one that probably a lot of people don't think about, and they probably drive past them all the time: antique malls. Because antique malls are great places to go. Because if you guys aren't familiar with how an antique mall works, someone has maybe a 10,000 square foot building. They rent out like an 8x10 booth or something like that. Each one of these people, they go in, they put their stuff in there, they put numbers on their items, and then the owners don't have to be there. You go in there, you grab the item, you walk up front. There's usually one person that works up front, and then they ring out everything, and then that antique booth owner gets a check at the end of the month for everything they sold. So I will tell you, be careful when you go because it's going to be a Wild West. Like I have gone and I've seen astronomical prices, but I have gone to where people didn't know stuff was there and stuff that maybe when they priced it was high, but maybe 6 months down the line, people forgot about, didn't know it was there because it's not a place people look to go find cards. And man, I've found some big scores along the way.
Bangers? You were almost said it.
We can't. No bangers allowed, dude. No bangers allowed. You know this.
Am I right? Listen, it is trying to get me in trouble here. I see what you're working with. You got nothing left since the Commanders are done. You've had a work week of your life. Notre Dame's been crushing your hopes and dreams.
Come on. That was.
I kind of gonna just stick that knife a little farther in there, buddy. All right. Well, how about this? So, Tim, I know you don't open a lot of packs and stuff. You do open some, but I mean, is there any places you think about to find packs? Because me and Cary do like to open a lot of packs. We have to do shorts and rip them. You have done them too. I've seen you do those. Any recommendations on people other than the card shop or Walmart and Target to find cards or rip up packs?
The Dick's Sporting Goods has been selling packs randomly. It is. There was a time where I would have to go to Walmart like 6 a.m. right, and during the pandemic, okay, and stand in line and everybody get one box, and then
so it's like Pokemon now, basically.
Correct.
What's that?
Yes,
it's like Pokemon now, except they're fighting to the death for the Pokemon.
Well, you know what's crazy is that
I assume
there was a time where it was really good here. I could walk into a store and I could buy stuff. But as of the last 3-4 months, it has been dry again. The shelves have started to get bare again. People are starting to get a little bit that part of it's starting to creep up a little bit. But I know that Dick's Sporting Goods, GameStop, you know what I'm saying, is another one. Ace Hardware. I don't know if you guys have Ace Hardware.
Ace Hardware sells cards? I have no idea.
Dude, here's one you're not going to know. If you want to buy 2021 Contenders basketball at 3 times what it's worth, like $40, I think I bought one of these for a video because we found it in Las Vegas at a Hobby Lobby. You could tell they got like 1 shipment or maybe 2 shipments in the pandemic, and they just never sold them, and they kept the prices high because they had dust on them. So they had some new stuff too.
That's funny.
But Hobby Lobby, I wouldn't really look there, but if you're there bored, because you're shopping for other stuff, go check it out.
I'll tell you where I've been killing it, Barnes & Noble.
Oh, dude, low-key one of the best spots.
I can't even tell you, it is the best location for me to buy cards. Is Barnes & Noble. Like, there's Targets by me, there's Walmart's by me, they have a better selection at the Barnes & Nobles that I've been to than even some of the card shops in my area. It's ridiculous, like how good, and they are they are good pricing as well. Like $30 a Prism. I'm paying the one by me had mega boxes for Bowman U. They had the regular blaster boxes for Bowman U. They had Prism blaster boxes. They had everything you could possibly think of. They had Chrome, they had Topps Chrome basketball, they had Olympic basketball, they had Star Wars. Like I'm talking about like Pokemon, they had everything.
I found those large like 8x10
I love
or
watching
5x7
those.
marble boxes
Oh,
there.
yeah.
They were like $30. That was dope. Those were so cool.
Yeah, that's one too. I would just say, I mean, flea markets is a great place to find packs and cards. Dollar General, they used to sell like they had Score, they had baseball, Topps baseball,
CVS.
CVS. I'm out in the country and we got a Dollar General out here in the country, like 2 minutes away, and they got like 3 little 2-packs of cards. One's like 2022 Donruss. I might want to pick those up, but I don't think anybody in 2022 is that good. That was Brock Purdy's rookie year. I might buy it for a video, but it's funny to see them there because they're hidden behind stuff. It was kind of funny.
That was like those packs, Rod and I, when we were at the 100-mile yard sale, and this guy had like it was like an inside like a space. It was an indoor yard sale setup flea market thing, and he had massive amounts of those Dollar General packs. And I bought like 10 of them because they were $1 a piece. And I was sitting there ripping them, and I was like, I got like 60 base cards and like
and the yellow parallels.
But it was fun. It was a good little itch to scratch, for
like,
a buck.
That's something good if you have a kid and you don't want to go to the store and spend $150 on a hobby box or $250 on a hobby box. Where you go to Dollar Store, you pick up a couple packs for your kid, let him rip it, have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Tim, I'm actually looking forward to the highway sale this year because if that booth is back, I spent $400 or $500 each day I went there.
You did really well though on a couple of those cards you picked up.
I bought
Barry Sanders rookie, right?
Yeah, I bought a Barry Sanders. It was the was it BCCS grade on it? Was Beckett's? What is the low end?
BC. It's the one for like entry level grading.
Yeah,
BCCG. Yeah, that's
it was
not really.
It was
great.
1989 Barry Sanders Score rookie, and it was like what? It was a 10 on it. I mean, I paid like $70 for that. I think I flipped that for like 150 or 170.
Do they even do that anymore? The BCCG grading?
No.
Yeah, I think they stopped that a while ago.
That's the order slabs they have, but
does Beckett still grade? By the way,
I don't think Beckett does grade. The real
Allegedly.
question is, do people still use Beckett to grade? That's the real question you need to ask. All right.
I'm not a grader, and I don't know if I want to talk about it a lot, but like that's a fascinating thing that's happened. Like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, it was Beckett and PSA. And everything else was miles away, if anything. And now Beckett is not even in the top 4, maybe. They're in the top 4, maybe not. I don't know.
There was a time that people wanted, say you had a Michael Jordan rookie card, and a 9.5 Beckett we'll get a premium or a PSA 10. That wasn't too long ago, man. That was literally. It
wasn't 5 years, maybe 6 years.
No, not even that, man. Like a couple of years ago, man. That was just bringing premium at that time.
You know what people are doing now? People are buying PSA 9s and cracking them and selling the cards raw.
Yeah,
because PSA 9s are in some cases are selling cheaper than raw cards. So people are buying PSA 9s to crack and sell raw.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's a wild time, man. So there's a lot, but that's a whole nother show by itself on grading and how you can take advantage of grading, make a lot of money grading, and that's something that I've been dabbling. Something I want to actually do a deep dive more this year on, because
that'll probably be like episode 67 when like we're established and like
exactly. We'll bring in
our
name
name
some
to Bangers Sports Card Podcast.
Bangers only. We've changed. No Bangers sells out.
Eventually, you guys are going to sell out one way or another, right? So it's bound to happen. We'll get the haters here as we grow.
Yeah, no, that's when we start getting the generic, boner pills or whatever. That's when we sell out. When we get those ads. Can I say boner on the podcast?
The generic ones, because
we're not going to get the real ones.
Yeah.
We're going to
Black Rhinos from the gas station.
No Bangers brought to you by Black Rhinos.
Comes with a free little Spanish fly, the little love potion.
Exactly. Whatever Rod's been using. We'll just say that.
It's worked well for me over the years, my friend. All right.
No wonder he makes it through the flea market so fast.
Well, before we wrap up this, you guys have
Red Bull and Black Rhino, man. It's the vodka time.
And bargain boxing, man. A trifecta. You never feel more in the zone when you do those three.
Cary's never knocked over so many boxes off tables.
Oh my gosh. I'm knocking over everything.
Bargain boxes all over the floor at card shows. He's been banned He's been banned from multiple states now because of it. So do you guys think he moves because of the heck of it? No, that's why he has to keep moving across, move to Florida now, right? So like, I can blame it on Rod if I come here. That's perfect. We're at the same shows. But all right, anything else you guys want to add to where to buy, guys? Anything we missed? Anything that you think we didn't cover? Because we pretty much touched base on most of it.
I think we've touched base on it. I think we're at a perfect time where there's so many places to buy from, whether it's online or in person.
I love that.
I think that it's good to. It's like everything else we talked about so far in these first couple episodes. It's good to be versatile. Try all these different things, because especially in the level that which we buy and we think that most people probably buy, there's opportunity to be had across all these platforms: online, offline, in person, buying wax, keeping wax, all that stuff. It's just, once again, it's just like selling. If you do your research your buying as much as you research your selling, then you're going to have a good time and hopefully make some money. And if you're don't forget, like, not everything that you buy you're going to sell, but it's also a good way for you to kind of find some cool cards for your PC, like
exactly.
You never know. So I'm excited.
I got a thesis I'll put out there. A lot of people say, junk wax 2.0, the market's dying, whatever. I would like to say that I think we're like in the golden era of sports cards right now as far as buying and selling goes. There has never been more places to find cards easily at good prices, and there's never been more options for you to sell your cards. And I can see that expanding. I can see more places to buy and more places to sell in the next few years. You have to be careful. There's going to be, compared to 4 or 5 years ago, there's going to be less easy flips. You're going to have to do your research. You're going to have to really go out there and grind. But if you're willing to do what we're doing and go, the no bangers route, in my opinion, there's a lot of opportunities. And even then, you're going to make mistakes. But thankfully, the stakes are a little less high when you lose $1 from $1 card, you purchased.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, because last week we talked about, I think it was like 15 or 16 emerging markets that we thought had potential to move on. So even if you go to the card shows and you have the tunnel vision, you're focused on baseball or football only, or wherever you focus on, there's a lot of opportunities out there. You guys just have to open up your mind, expand your knowledge, and take chances along the way. But as long as you're making calculated risks, it could really pay off. Because sometimes we have a saying when we pick is sometimes we pay for an education. So it's okay to buy that small collection for $100, $200 that you may not know about, that you're going to say, at least I'll break even. I'm going to learn a lot about this market, because I do that all the time. I have collections right here I've been going through while sitting there watching football that I bought, that I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take a chance on this. And now I'm learning so much more about what to buy and what not to buy.
Sometimes the money. Yeah. Sorry, man. I do this a lot, but sometimes the money you make is in the stuff you learn along the way, right? So you made a purchase, maybe you break even, you didn't make as much as you hoped, or you even lost money, but you save money down the line. You learned 5, 10, maybe 20 different lessons from that purchase. Don't buy this brand. This player's not as hot as I thought they were. Nobody's interested in this. And then it saves you money down the line, and it hones you in the bargain boxes in this game so that you're better in the future and you make more money, hopefully.
And I think
for an education, like you said.
And I think next week we should do a deep dive on what to look out for in bargain boxes. I mean, we touched base on it.
I'd love to do that.
We touched base on it on week 1, week 2, week 3 now. I think, we didn't talk about this before the show, but I'm going to make an executive decision next week. We're going to talk about the deep dive in going into bargain boxes, what to look out for at these shows, what to look out for these card shops, flea markets. And each of us have tips and tricks that we use in how to make calculated risks, or how to help advance our business along the way. And I think that's going to be a good dive on that. But
and I think the value is not so much, I mean, we probably will discuss certain players, but that's ever changing. What it is really the tactics that we're going to use, that we implement so that we can find whoever's emerging in the market at that time, or whoever's overlooked or undervalued, and there's an arbitrage to be played in between markets, which is what we do. I think there's a lot of tips and tricks and just things we've learned through grinding, mistakes we've made that we've learned from as well.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have anything to add? I think we pretty much wrapped it up pretty well today, guys. You guys have any big finds? Anything else you want to add before we end the show for the week?
Make sure you guys are following us on Whatnot and Discord, because
there we go.
We're
all social media,
too.
Instagram,
all social media.
Also, we have links down below, guys. Also, too, next week I'm going to draw the winner for the No Bangers. So make sure you guys do hashtag No Bangers down below.
Hashtag No Bangers.
We hit our 400 subs, so we will be giving away.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Next week. for you, whoever. So make sure you hashtag no bangers. And I want to make sure we take care of the people that are watching us to the end, that are here for us, to support us, because you guys are the real, true OGs, and we love you guys for this. And I think what I'm going to start doing, something just popped up my screen. I think what I'm going to start doing too is each week, because I want us to hit 1,000 subs. So each week, I'm going to start adding packs to 1,000 sub giveaway. So I'm going to add some Skybox 95-96 base basketball. I'm going to add packs of Fleer 93-94 basketball as well. And I'm going to start making a pile for when we hit 1,000 subs. I'm going to do a massive giveaway for our viewers here, because I think
let's do a game real quick. Let's name the rookies from those years. 93-94. I'll start. Penny Hardaway. Who's next? 93-94. Who's some rookies?
So that's Chris Webber.
That is Chris Webber. Grant Hill's the next year.
Yep, 95-96.
So we got 95-96. Who's the big rookie in that year?
Grant Hill, right?
That's 94-95. We got
KG,
the kid.
Oh, Jason Kidd.
That's 94-95.
95.
This is just sorry. Give me a chance to nerd out about mid-90s basketball.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Why don't you tell us?
93-94, the ones you're looking for are C-Web, and you're looking for Penny Hardaway. And then 95-96 is really KG, Arvidas Sabonis, who was a baller. He doesn't really have height.
Vin Baker?
Vin Baker is 93-94, I think. I think Vin Baker's 93-94. And the 95-96 Skybox has got the cool Michael Jordans with like the flame, like basketball dunking base cards that look amazing. So
I'm going to add this.
Rashid
in honor of Tim, I'm going to add a pack of Notre Dame cards here.
This guy,
there we go.
A way to, he's going to pull out a Redskins pack next.
No one wants those, so they didn't make any of those. Let's be honest, right? So, but now I'm going to add these to 1,000 sub giveaway, guys. So each week I'll show it. It's going to keep building and building. I'm giving away a blaster box for you guys this week. So make sure you do hashtag no bangers down below. Let us know you're part of the family. We're going to do that way. And any final words, Tim, before we go? Oh, there it is.
My favorite part of the show.
All right.
Rod, you got to lift your hand up a little bit so it's over. There we go, right there. Now move it to the middle of the screen. Up a little bit.
Ready? Come on, guys.
Bit,
everybody should be doing this at home as well. I don't care if you're at Starbucks. Make this happen.
The most awkward thing.
All right. On three,
care if you're
no
in class.
bangers.
If you're in class, yell it.
1, 2, 3. No
bangers!
bangers!